All right, I'm Sharkhat 87. This is going to be Dead Space 2 any percent. I've got two commentators with me. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Hey, I'm Radish. I've been speedrunning this game for about a year now, and I'm excited to commentate here today for Shark.
My name is Crazy Bad Gaming, and I'm pretty good at the game, and Sharkhat is way better.
All right. Well, I think we're ready to go here. We can explain things as we go. There's a little bit of downtime at the beginning to do so. So I think we're going to go ahead and get started here. Time is going to be starting when we select the difficulty, which will be right here. So we can get started in 3, 2, 1, go. All right. So this is the sequel to Dead Space 1. And in the story of this game, we are on the space station, the Sprawl, and we're trying to escape this hospital where we've been kept and used to create markers, which are the alien artifacts that create these zombie alien creatures that are trying to attack us right now. One quick thing to note right off the bat is that we actually use a mod to skip the intro cutscene, which normally takes about 4 minutes. And it just lets us jump into the run a little easier.
Yeah, it can be pretty annoying having to reset over and over, especially in Chapter 1, where resets are more common than a lot of other places in the run, so...
Yes, Chapter 1 can be pretty difficult, especially if you're trying to really grind out a good time. It's really easy to mess things up and just kind of have your run die pretty early. But right now, we are stuck in the straitjacket, and while we're in this state, we can't really do much. We're not able to interact with stores. We can't buy weapons or suits. And most of our movement is completely restricted. We can't use any of our special abilities like kinesis or stasis. So the goal of any Dead Space 2 run at the beginning is to get to this first cutscene where we're going to get cut out of the straitjacket. We're going to meet our good friend Edgar up here. Gonna help us out. All right, you guys want to talk a little bit about some of the tricks that we're going to be doing coming up here after this cutscene?
Yeah, so we're gonna see basically our first tricks after this cutscene. We're gonna be skipping like a little bit of a tutorial that pops up. That's gonna be one thing that we're gonna do, and we're also going to be basically duplicating the flashlight, which allows us to skip multiple little cutscenes and stuff, which saves about a total of 9 seconds in Chapter 1. It's not a lot, but it is, it is a time save, and especially in this game. There's going to be a lot of little tricks that save a bunch of time over the course of the entire run. So we're going to be wanting to be doing those in order to get a really good time. So those are going to be some of the tricks, and then we have a big skip coming a little bit later in the chapter, which you're going to see, which is pretty cool. So
Yeah. So the flashlight item that we're going to be picking up here is programmed to take us out of any animation or cutscene that we're in. So like Radish mentioned, we're going to be pulling up the tutorial that spawns it in over and over again, well, 2 more times after this, and that will allow us to skip other cutscenes that we're not normally supposed to.
We're all gonna burn for what we...
And after this elevator right here, we're going to be doing... You didn't mention table boost, right?
I did not.
Okay, so there is a glitch in this game or piece of tech called wall boosting, and it works in all 3 games. The way it works is that at a high enough FPS, if you run into certain pieces of collision, you will gain height. So this one is actually not very FPS dependent. You can even do this on console at 30 FPS. But I'm going to be trying to climb up a table and then land on another chair to skip having to walk around this room a little bit. I can also aim here to skip this tutorial where I normally have to stop and use the locator for a second. Alright, didn't miss table boost. Nice. Always feels good.
Hardest give in the game.
True. Alright, so I'm opening up this restore health tutorial again, and using it will spawn the flashlight. I can pick it up right there. One important thing to note, I forget if you mentioned this, but you can pick up the flashlight from anywhere on the map. So it's actually spawning in back at that locker every single time. But since I can grab it from anywhere, I can be anywhere on the map. And
You can't do it after Chapter 1 because the level then deloads.
yes, you do still have to be in Chapter 1, because that area still needs to be loaded in.
If it could, then the scheme would be more busted, but...
Yes, it would be extremely useful if we could use it in other places.
Take away from this game. This game is very busted, guys.
Also,
Very busted.
I want to mention that where he's at right now, we like to call this up to this point vent percent, because basically you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. So we like to try and optimize this time as much as possible and see how low the time you can get up to this point.
Yeah, it's essentially the intro of the run. The run usually feels like it starts around here once we've gotten past all that stuff. And we get our first major power-up of the game, Kinesis. This lets us pick up objects and throw them around. It is possible to skip this item, but you actually can't beat Chapter 1 and, well, you can't beat the rest of the game either without it.
We do have a main category called Kill the Tripod where it features that skip, but
Yeah, it gets you to the first boss, the tripod, a lot faster, so we just have a category where you go and kill the tripod, do that big skip. So, we're going to be setting up a pretty complicated trick here. Yeah, why don't you guys explain it while I do it?
Alright, so basically, this guy right here is called Steve, at least we like to call him that, Steve the Slasher. And what Sharkhat's going to be doing right now is he's going to be putting Steve basically in the doorway right here. Once Steve kind of calms down and stops moving around all over the place. There you go. So he's going to open that door, and Steve is actually going to hold that door open because not only do players hold doors open, but enemies do as well. So while he does that, Shark is going to go and grab the plasma cutter, and we're going to meet this guy right here, who we're not going to help at all.
I'll cut you out of there.
Yeah, Isaac doesn't do a great job of trying to help this guy. He probably could have saved him, but that's all right. But yeah, we actually can skip getting the gun here, but one really nice thing about picking this up is when you get the cutter for the first time, the game gives you infinite reloads in your gun, because the only way to progress normally is to shoot this guy on the table that we couldn't see over there, and that removes an invisible wall. But since we're about to go do a skip here, we never actually leave the room from the intended direction, so we actually get to keep this infinite reload glitch for the entire run, which is super useful. And it's just overall a lot more consistent. Yeah, so now we're in a deloaded part of the level.
Yeah, we killed that slasher that was keeping that door open. Now we deload the entire level and open one door from another side. And that's going to deload the elevator, which we're going to fall through now, I believe. So you see that a lot of it is deloaded now, but Shark is just heading back into the level which he came. And that's because we deloaded part of an area right here where we can drop down, do a little bit of a precise setup, and
Yeah, usually in a run I would do this a lot faster, but I'm just trying to make sure I actually get it there. That was pretty good.
so he's going to be falling off and pause buffering while also producing a lot of inputs in a short amount of time, and that's actually going to allow us to open a door.
He is literally scrolling his mouse wheel across his desk.
Yeah. And you're going to notice that this area is now all deloaded, so this tripod is still here. So he's going to find the door right after he kills the tripod, and now...
That was really good, by the way. That was
Thank you.
He found that door immediately. That door doesn't show up in that deloaded area.
Yeah, you kind of just have to know where it is. Sometimes you can look and see where some of the crates or like ammo drops on the ground are, and that can kind of give you a reference of where you are. But it's pretty hard to. That was pretty lucky, honestly. This is actually gonna be a pretty good chapter 1. It's not bad. But we're gonna be using that deload tech for a lot of the run because being able to control how the level is loaded is very powerful, and lets you like there get out of bounds, or it also deloads the collision of doors. So there's gonna be a lot of times in the game where we're actually just gonna walk straight through where a locked door would normally be. And in some cases, we walk through locked doors that you're never even intended to unlock in the first place. You're not even supposed to use those doors, but we do anyway.
We should mention that skip that Sharkhat just performed actually skipped stasis as well.
Yeah.
So there's going to be no stasis in this run. Fortunately, that actually doesn't affect a lot, except for one trick.
There's one trick, yeah.
But yeah, it actually does affect a lot. Yeah. A little bit of, a little bit of combat here and there is a little bit more, more weird, but luckily we can easily get past it with a little bit of a fix here and there, so.
Like, that skip we just did, like, you get unlimited ammo, the starting suit with no stasis, and in all in one trick.
So that trick right there,
Yeah.
Shark basically ran backwards into a corner, which allowed him to get a little bit of a height, and then he turned around and ran into a plant, which allowed him to boost over the railing itself.
Yeah.
He then ran across the entire course of that little area there, and he hit a checkpoint, which allowed him to skip about 2 minutes further into the level. So that's just a pretty old trick in this video.
Pretty old, as in found what?
It's like the second skip in the entire game.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was found very recently by our dear friend, Living Looney Man.
Shoutouts to Looney.
Yeah,
Shoutouts to Looney.
So that room, just a bunch of exploders. We're trying to kill them as fast as possible.
Yeah. One more thing about the plant boost trick is that a lot of skips work like that in this game. So for each level, there's a set of checkpoints that are loaded, and if you can get out of bounds and touch one and reload from it, you'll be put at that point in the game, regardless of whether you've actually completed the objectives or not. Unlike Dead Space 1, where say each level is a separate map, and you have to actually complete a certain number of objectives to then load the next map, it's pretty much just a linear shot to the end. So as long as things are loaded and you can reach them, generally you can make it work. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing.
This is the first of, I think, 6 hack panels in the run now, right?
I think it's 5. I don't remember. It's 5 or 6. Yeah.
All right. So these things, you have to search around to find the blue weak spot, and then we've gotten faster and better at doing them over time, but still every once in a while we do mess up on them, and it can be pretty annoying. So they actually, I think, lose like 6 seconds, depending on.
Yeah, if I was doing an actual PB attempt and I did that, I'd probably reset.
Yeah.
But you know, for this is fine.
Optimized. You lose 6 seconds. Tough run.
You might as well reset. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you still can. I think either my current PB or the one before that, I think I lost about 10 seconds in this level and I still PB'd. So you know, it can still happen. It's just you don't want to be super far behind right at the beginning. So you'll see the 0G looks a little weird in this game when you don't actually have a helmet on. And we just have thrust coming out of our just regular boots here. It's pretty silly. It's pretty clear you weren't really intended to leave the first level with this suit.
So normally right there we would actually checkpoint restart when actually the quick time event was done. That's because we need to save in-game time the most, and checkpoint restarting there actually takes us a little bit further into the level instead of watching the animation when it rolls in. But if we are in an RTA event, we're gonna, try to be doing the RTA scripts.
Yeah, yeah, like you said, the in-game time is the main way we time the game. So there's a couple places here and there where we checkpoint restart, and even though the load screen takes longer, it is a little faster, depending on where it puts you, or if it skips a cutscene or whatnot. Right there, it's like a 1 or 2 second time save in-game time, but RTA it's way slower, so I'm not gonna do it.
Huge combat room here. Combat is just as important as getting the tricks fast. Even if, especially in this room, if you mess up a little bit in the combat, it can cost you about 2 or 3 seconds pretty easily. And this is definitely one of the harder ones. That was really good though.
Yeah, one of the reasons this room's hard is because the game tries to give you these struggle mechanics when you're hanging upside down. So it'll move your aim for you, and your aim's sort of sluggish and hard to be precise with. That wasn't too bad.
Make sure everyone is on the left. It says you turn crazy down by 20%.
I turned mine.
Oh, okay, cool.
Sorry, that part was kind of loud. I didn't quite catch what you said.
Nah, don't worry about it.
All right, sounds good.
Dana, I need a new route.
What happened? I thought we lost you.
Alright, so now we are in chapter 3. Basically, our train just absolutely exploded, and now we need to find a new route to Dana. So we're going to be going through some different areas of the game now. And we got a huge fight right here. This is the pack. The pack are just a bunch of kids that scream really loudly, but they can overwhelm you. They do take like one shot. They're like the weakest enemies in the game by far. So we're gonna just try and kill them as soon as they spawn. You notice that Sharkhat is doing a really good job of keeping on top of where they're spawning and trying to kill them as soon as possible. Because the sooner they kill all of them, the sooner that this guy's dialogue shows up.
Yes, and you might notice that I saved the slasher for last, and that was because he doesn't actually count towards making this dialogue progress. So I just kneecap him to make sure he doesn't try to grab me or something. Grabs can lose a lot of time in this game.
Yeah, depending on what enemy it is, the grab can take like from 5 seconds up to like 15.
Yeah, those small enemies, their grabs can usually lose you at least 10 seconds. It's really, really bad.
Yeah.
Fortunately, there's not that many of them. It's not usually a problem, but it happens every once in a while. Also, so since we don't need ammo in this run, I sell all of it to be able to afford these 2 weapons, the javelin gun and the line gun. Javelin gun we're not going to have for that long, but it is useful in a few places, and line gun is extremely broken, both in terms of combat and tech. We're going to be doing a lot of damage boost with it later. You can clip the mines through walls. It just does a lot of damage.
You know, hit certain load areas and checkpoints that we're going to be doing later. So we're going to be using that.
Yeah, if you hit yourself with the alternate fire, which is an explosive, it will launch you off of a ledge at exactly twice your running speed, which is really useful for reaching things you wouldn't normally be able to get to just by running off. Oh, I should go ahead and explain this now. It's coming up in a little bit. So there are a few tricks in the game where we toggle our FPS to a lower value because the physics and load times are all tied to your FPS. So it's usually done just to make things more consistent or to prevent people from needing to, lag their games, doing really silly things like changing the resolution and stuff like that. So the game's going to drop to about 5 FPS for just a second or two here, so your stream isn't lagging, I promise. The game footage will look a little choppy for just a moment, like I said.
Yeah, so basically at 5 FPS, I'm going to go ahead and explain this for him. If you alternate aim and interact, you can actually straight up flip out of save stations. And that's going to allow Shark to fall into the 0G in this area and fly all the way over to the end of this area. And since this is RTA, he's going to not check for restart there. He's going to actually back up and open the door, which actually loads in the level as soon as he opens the door in real time.
And of course that makes that battery spawn in a really bad spot when you don't restart,
Yeah.
but it's not a big deal. And that's actually what you would do in the hardcore difficulty of this game if you're doing a run. And the main difference between that and this, besides that just the enemies are harder and you take more damage, is that there aren't any checkpoint restarts. So all of these skips I'm doing, like that plant boost trick earlier, don't work the same way because there's no way to reload the game without having to actually reload a save. So, for example, there's a lot of places like that where you have to actually load the level back in or get back inbounds or things like that to make it all work. But you'd be surprised. The hardcore record's actually only like less than 20 minutes slower, and it used to be 2 hours not too long ago. We've really brought that down quite a bit. We've actually brought this category down an insane amount in the past 2 years. I think 2 years ago the run was like a 158. And now we're at a 106, going for a 105 soon. It's pretty insane. We found a lot of crazy stuff.
I don't know if there was a hardcore run on the board besides the one on YouTube.
Oh,
So what you just saw right
yeah,
there
go ahead and explain
was,
that.
Yeah, that was Sharkhat basically hitting the elevator interact button through the wall, and basically that tricks the game into thinking that we're already in the elevator. So that deloaded the level while we were already there, which allows us to fall down and hit a checkpoint further after the elevator, which saves about 2 seconds. So it's not a huge skip, but again, it is a time save. So
Yeah, it's pretty neat. There's another one like that in Chapter 6 that you'll see. It saves quite a bit more time.
all right, so
All right.
this Chapter 4 plus 5 is definitely one of the hardest splits in the entire game. You're going to be seeing a trick coming up here soon. First, he's going to run through this little room right here. Are we going to be shooting this infector? Yes, we're going to be killing this infector right here. And then basically kind of maneuvering around these enemies that spawn out. So watching out, making sure that nothing's about to grab him, because infectors grabbing is really, really bad.
Their grabs also take a really long time.
Yeah.
So the way this
So
next
he's
part
gonna-
works... yeah, you go ahead, actually.
Alright, so he's going to be basically, he's going to shoot a mine through the door, and it actually only works on this door specifically, which is good, because there's a fuse on the other side, and that's going to break the door and allow us to open it. The next step is to run into this room, grab this table, put it into this corner, and he's going to try his best to stand on top of this table, which you'll notice will slowly push him down into the floor, and then click
There we
into
go.
the floor. There we go.
Yeah.
So he's, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say one more quick thing about the fuse thing that's cool is the way those sequence breaks work is that normally in this level you're supposed to break the fuses from the other side and use that to backtrack to previous areas, like to use the store. But we're able to exploit that a little bit.
So he ran off a ledge and got a little bit of height, and now he's on top of the Bacilla. He's going to do a quick setup here at the very edge. He's going to stomp launch, which is almost as fast as line gun boosting. Do that pause buffer that we mentioned earlier, and we're going to hit a door that's out of bounds.
Yeah.
Much further into the level.
And one cool thing to note too is that we were in chapter 4 and now we're actually in chapter 5, and usually the game will load one chapter at a time in a big chunk, and when you get to the end it'll load the next chapter. But in some cases like this we'll actually have 2 in 1, so since it's the same map essentially we can just jump from one chapter to the other and it saves a whole lot of time.
Yeah.
I forgot this is going to be different now because I didn't checkpoint restart. Well, that's fine.
It is,
Yeah, that's another spot where we usually checkpoint restart.
Right after he shot the big guardian, because if you checkpoint restart there right after you kill him, then it'll actually put you at the very beginning of the sequence and skip that little cutscene there of the guy jumping and, you know, oh, he's here, or whatever, you know. So basically, as soon as we kill all of the pack here, the store is going to immediately open. We actually don't have to kill the other enemies that spawn in this room. We can just straight up leave. So that's going to be our main priority in that room. So just kill them all as fast as possible.
Yeah, there's actually a way to skip that fight by killing the boss before. So that boss there is supposed to drag you, but if you hit him with a javelin gun right when his vulnerability frames start, you can do what we call a 0 cycle fight, because each drag we usually call 1 cycle, but you can actually kill him before the fight even really starts, and you get that weird glitch like when I ran forward and the cutscene started but the enemy didn't spawn. But if you run back and open the door, it kind of deloads the enemies, and then you can just leave without the door ever locking in the first place. But it's a little slower, so we don't do it. Plus, I think the fight itself looks cooler. Otherwise, you're kind of just running in a straight line.
So that cutscene there, it basically shows that Isaac is going to get progressively more and more crazy as this game goes on. You'll see him start to hallucinate more and more, and basically the hallucinations are more and more crazy, so. But anyways, right here, we're going to shoot out this glass and get that detonator schematic right there. The detonator is actually only good for 1 or 2 rooms in this game now. It used to be really, really good for like lineups and stuff like that, but we just skip a lot of it now, so.
Yeah, it's had an interesting history in the run. It used to not be used at all. Then people realized it was really fast for killing certain enemies. But then, eventually, not too long ago, with all the skips that got found, we really only needed it for the next level where we're actually going to buy it, and then we would sell it. But there was a new skip found later on in Chapter 10 that we're going to be using it for. So I'm actually going to be keeping it for this run. But normally, like a few weeks ago, you'd be selling it like pretty much right away after you buy it.
Well, that's why we brought you here.
Oh, yes, so this person who's supposed to be helping us, by the way, plot twist, she's a unitologist, which is this crazy cult that want to be converted by the marker into necromorphs, and so they're trying to use us to build more of them.
We need that precious little
We
head
skip a
yours
lot
just
of the
way it is.
backstory between
Yeah,
them.
definitely.
So this tension really is a slap in the face
Now
to
would
us
you
now.
escort Isaac to the shuttle and put him in stasis?
Yeah, well, it doesn't help when you've also seen the cutscene hundreds of times, you know.
More than hundreds, dude. At least 1,000.
Probably.
When you're testing this map underneath it, dude, oh my god.
Yeah, that's one thing to note too. This is, I think, probably people's most wanted skip would be any way to skip this cutscene, but just the way that the level loads, it doesn't seem super likely.
Not mine.
Not saying it's impossible, but with our current knowledge of the game, it'd be pretty... I'll put it this way, you'd have to find something pretty insane to make that happen.
This is deemed, at least, well, we don't like to deem things impossible, because whenever we do, they just get found immediately.
Nothing is impossible. Don't say
Yeah,
anything is
especially in this game.
Yeah.
It's really unlikely that there's going to be a skip there, I'll say that. My
All
most
I can
desired would
say,
be a kind
all I can say is that in the cheat percent category that only at least give it 20 minutes, you still have to watch the whole cutscene.
Yeah, even with cheats, teleporting, using 0G to fly around anywhere, all that kind of stuff, there's no way to skip this part of the game right here without physically, you know, changing the address in memory that says what your checkpoint is with cheat engine or something, which, you know, obviously we can't do that. But a skip we can do is the second half of this fight here. You'd be lining up a line gun shot. Nice.
Oh, that's actually like really nerve-wracking.
So the explosive canisters on that ship, you're supposed to shoot during the second phase of that fight, but they're actually loaded on the ship before the cutscene even starts. So if you snipe it as the ship flies in, you can actually just load the next level in. It also camera locks right here, which is pretty funny.
How y'all feel about donations?
This is a perfect time for donations.
This is perfect.
Oh, I'm so happy. All right, well, RU642 sent in $31, says, do we want the longest ending and a deeper into different maps to make the speedrun particularly slow? Absolutely. Opagripa wins. Can't wait for Amnesia, The Dark Descent. And they actually put that donation towards our bid war that we have going on for the ending of Amnesia, Dark Descent, pushing the Agrippa ending into the lead by a single dollar. Now in the lead at $31, and very close behind is Alexander at $30, and nobody's interested in Daniels at $0. If you're interested in Daniels, please do get your donations in for the Organization for Autism Research, and be sure to click on that bid war.
All right, so
Fantastic.
but like back in chapter 3, we basically did the same thing except for that skips a lot more. So. And also, we don't have to checkpoint restart. The level actually loads in while we're falling, so it's pretty convenient. Well, for some of us, other people with different PCs, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, but that's why the frame toggling rule is nice.
Through the wall.
Yeah.
And it deloaded the level around it because it expects us to be in the elevator.
Yeah.
Load into a different part of it.
And one weird thing about elevators in this game is that a lot of them will not actually unlock and let you out until the character who's done talking to you is finished. And it's funny because if you actually cheat out of bounds, a lot of these elevators, you'll reach your destination in 2 seconds and then have to wait for another half a minute for them to finish talking to you. So whenever you can clip out of them like that, it's really nice.
So this is our, like, first instance of battery trolling in this game. Batteries are some of the, kind of weirdest objects that you have to kinesis around in this game. At least they're not Dead Space 1 batteries, I can say that. But
yeah, they tried to make them sort of snap into the right spot, but they sometimes just don't really do what you want them to do. They can be kind of obnoxious.
So we used to stasis that guy, but there is no stasis anymore, so we actually have to kill him and eat some damage.
Yeah. Fortunately, there's a lot of nice backups with stunning them by shooting them. Particularly there, I try to hit him in the chest because that gives him a recoil animation where he's stunned, but he doesn't hit me. I missed a little bit, but it didn't matter. Mostly I'm just trying to avoid getting grabbed. But with these enemies, if you hit them, they have this AoE attack that starts spraying out of them, and so oftentimes that can kind of mess you up. The worst thing that can happen there is you take damage, don't interact with the elevator, and then he grabs you. Because if he grabs you after you're already in the elevator, it's an auto-scroller at that point anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Here we're going to see the first use of the detonator. Yeah, you can go and explain it.
Yeah, so basically, right here, we're going to be trying to use this hack panel as fast as possible, because if we don't, and actually the Stalker has 2 patterns here. One of them is he can charge you really, really fast and basically interrupt the hack panel entirely. And if he interrupts it once, then there's a really good chance that you're not going to be able to get it again. That's why we have that detonator there, is just the safeguard. We can't actually get it without the detonator, but it's all up to luck really on whether or not the Stalker wants to charge you fast or slow.
Yeah, we got a lucky pattern there, so I could have done it without the detonator, but again, like you said, if you don't have it, sometimes your runs would just die there.
And
unfortunately, we don't have to worry about that.
A minute, honestly.
It can be bad. You can recover it, but it really, because then other enemies start spawning, and you still have to finish the whole thing. And some of the hack panels will actually complete even if, as long as you hit that 3rd node, but that one, you have to actually be out of the animation where he's stepping away from the wall. So you can actually be done with the puzzle, and then get hit, and the door's still locked. So it's dumb.
Yeah, you got that right.
Oh yeah, this
Us meeting Ellie.
Yeah, she is one of the other main characters of the game. She's another survivor. Our relationship with her doesn't make a lot of sense, kind of like our relationship with Dana. Just because we skip so much dialogue and character development between them that they pretty much instantly go from hostile to almost best friends. It's pretty funny to watch.
What do you think we were trying to do?
So this is chapter 6 is definitely the chapter with the most downtime. It's deemed as probably the worst chapter in the entire game
Yeah.
by runners. So not just because of the downtime, because of the trick later on, but we'll talk about that when we get there.
Yeah. There are some pretty cool parts. This next section up here isn't too bad. I think it's pretty neat. But there's a lot of stuff like this, which isn't too bad, but when you're, resetting a lot, especially because of said trick coming up, it definitely wears on you a little bit. It could be worse, though.
I heard downtime, so is it a good time for donations?
Yes, this is perfect, yeah.
Awesome. Holston in $25 says, good luck in Dead Space 2. Hoping for right-hand Herald here. Smiley face.
Yo, you said Holt, right?
I did say Holt.
Oh, thank you, Holt. I appreciate that, dude.
Holt, that's the boy. Love you, Holt.
Yeah, Holt is in the chat. So.
All right.
Yeah, if you have anything else to read, this is also a pretty good time, too.
Oh, definitely. Well, I want to remind everybody that we actually have a donation prize available here. We wanted to show our appreciation for everyone donating, so we decided to help sweeten the deal. If you donate more than $10, you'll get 2 entries into our prize pool, the possibility to win some free HiG stickers as well as some free video games. For every $5 you spend over the 10, you get an additional entry. And remember that your money goes towards autism research. We'll be holding the drawing before our last run on our last day. So make sure you gotten all your donations in by then. And to receive your prize, you must be in our Discord, found at !Discord. And your donation name must be similar to your Discord name. We'll have 3 winners. All 3 will receive stickers, but only our first prize will receive the games.
All right, so
Awesome.
if you notice right there, we kind of skipped over that entire gym sequence there. Basically, what we did is we did a traditional deload like we first found it back in August of 2020, where you open one door and then you run to another door and then open that. Doesn't they have to be a decent distance, but sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. It all depends on the load patterns of it. And it may or may not be deloaded, and we use that to actually skip the entire gym sequence there. There is another skip that you can do there that is about 6 to 7 seconds slower. It's what we used to do, where you boost up on a chair.
Yeah, the room is weird. This isn't something that happens in most of these games, but there's a random, I'm assuming a debug trigger, and if you touch it by getting enough height in the room, the sequence just ends. There's this curtain that blocks you, and it just opens. In that case, with the level unloaded like that, the curtain's just not there, so you just run right past where it would be. I think the other one looks cooler, but that one's a little faster. So
This one, by the way, this elevator is the longest normal elevator in the game, without question about it.
yes, I was gonna say, in case you have anything else to read, this is also a perfect time. Otherwise, we're gonna explain the next trick coming up too in a second here.
No, I can definitely, I didn't get a chance to say that you do have to actually choose to enter for that donation prize. There's a rewards section on Tiltify, so when you're going to donate, you want to make sure that you click in the thing that says to enter into the giveaway. That's very important. And I wanted to tell everybody a little bit more about the games actually in the prize. It's a series of games from the game publisher Wired Productions. And the stickers are actually really cool too. They're holographic and handmade. So it's a really cool prize. A nice extra bonus, but you do have to click on that rewards section on Tiltify to enter in the giveaway when you donate.
All right, so this is the transport up here. We're gonna be coming back to this area one more time in this run. But basically the trick that we're going to be doing here, you notice that Holt called him right-hand Herald. It's because this trick is essentially random. We're going to be trying to get this brute to punch us through this door right here. There used to be a version that we could use with normal stasis, which is much more consistent. Basically, if the brute punches you with left hand, then you will actually not get the trick at all.
Yeah.
If he punches you with his right hand, then you'll get the trick every single time. It really all depends on which hand he punches you with. We don't know why, and we have not found a better strategy yet. We've looked for a while, and we haven't found anything.
Shoutouts to Arceus for discovering that brutes could clip you, and shoutouts to Crazy for finding this skip.
I know who that guy is.
Shout out or unshout out? This trick sucks.
Well, it saves time, so you know.
Shoutouts to Radish never finding the truth.
I found one. So he stasis him, and we're just praying. Yep. Left hand Larry right there.
Yep.
But if we can do a backup here.
Ooh, oh no. Okay. Okay, I almost clipped through the floor there. That would have been really bad.
I did that by streaming.
That also happened to me not too long ago. All right, he's not being very friendly right now, but as long as we clip,
Being a real left hand.
that was close. There we go. Okay, first try every time.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that trick is very not fun.
Not gonna lie, I have my PB splits pulled up here. We'll explain why later. There's a trick where I actually need to see my timer. I actually barely lost time off my PB there. That's pretty funny. Anyway, so we checkpoint restart there to skip that cutscene. And now we're in chapter 7.
The elevator as well, yeah. Skip saves about 20 seconds.
Yes.
So upcoming here is actually one of the biggest tricks in the run. I think it's the second biggest, if I remember correctly. It's kind of, you know, a traditional skip that we used to do a while back where there was a lot of this where we're going to clip out of a 0G area. You're going to notice that we're straight up out of bounds now. And then we used to do a precise lineup, but, you know, we don't like being precise here. So we're just straight up going to fly to the top of the map. No setup required. And once we hit the top of the 0G, we're going to fly to an area where we can still do a lineup, albeit from a much further distance because we're at the top of the 0G. So you're gonna notice that Shark is aiming at a spot very far away in the map right there. He's going to pause and then turn around, and then while he turns around, he's going to hit the top of the 0G again, which then changes the way that he's facing, and then he's gonna fall out of 0G, and then when he reaches a certain point in the cloud right there, you'll see he's going to checkpoint restart, and hopefully he's gonna hit the skip.
We'll see. It looks pretty good. And it works every time. Let's go. Nice.
Right outside! Hurry!
Little thing that you can do right here, he's going to open this door. He's going to run a little bit into the level and then turn right around. So that's going to hit the trigger for the entire sequence to start out there in the transfer hub. But if we turn around fast enough, we can actually get back into this room before it locks. So we have a little bit of downtime.
Yeah, it's nice because we don't really get a lot of opportunities to buy things from the store without losing time. And so since we have to wait for Ellie to unlock this door anyway, we can chill for a little bit and sort out our inventory. I have way more money than I'm going to need, so I'm just going to fill up on small med kits. Main reason I don't want mediums is because if I am at full health and I get hit by a projectile attack by the puker enemies, it actually slows you down, but you can cancel it with healing, although the attack itself doesn't do damage. So if you're at full health, you can't cancel the slowed effect unless you take damage again, which obviously can happen. But it's nice to stay just under full health. And the other main reason is because we have some damage boosts coming up, so I'm gonna need to heal up after those. Fun fact, I forget if we mentioned this, but the patient suit here actually has unlimited air in these sections where normally you'd suffocate if you waited too long. So usually we would look at the air timer to know when to go here, but since we don't have that, I'm actually going to wait for an audio cue. This bit of dialogue coming up here in just a second. Yeah, this one.
Authorized for this.
Right on after she says open up, a few seconds after that. We're going to wait.
Bastard.
Yeah, so another thing with having stasis is that we can just stasis all of those little caves right there, and we can just run right past them, but we do have to eat a little bit of damage since we don't have the luxury of that this run, so.
Yeah. Alright, we got a short elevator ride here. There's another pretty good time if you have anything to read.
Ellie, are you guys there?
Sure thing. Well, I do want to remind everybody we are here raising funds for the Organization for Autism Research, which is a national nonprofit organization formed and led by relatives of children, teens, and adults with autism spectrum disorders. OAR's mission is to apply research to the challenges of autism. OAR does this by funding research related to intervention and quality of life and providing evidence-based resources that help individuals, families, and professionals in the autism community find answers to their immediate and urgent questions. They really provide a lot of amazing services. I spent some time on their website, and which is researchautism.org. They have a marathon you can run for autism. They offer scholarships. They offer research grants. They have all kinds of literature available for families, educators. It's a really, really great organization. So if you're able to, please do get those donations in.
Here are the coordinates.
All right.
All right, perfect. So we're heading into chapter 8 now. Kind of like before with chapter 4, the next 2 levels are all loaded as one map. So it's essentially just one big chapter. So we're going to be doing a deload to let us get out of bounds. And then we're going to be dropping down and loading in towards the end of chapter 9. So this is actually another one of the biggest skips in the entire game. It's all pretty jam-packed in mid-game here. Yo, Crazy, you want to explain fast door here?
Okay, so basically you're going to want to kill every single enemy around this door right here. That door is going to close, and then this door is going to open faster because it doesn't have to wait for the other door to close. And that's when you always get a fast door.
Yeah, we always like to joke about that because sometimes you can get trolled and an enemy will spawn right as you're about to go open the other door, and then it doesn't work, and so you always say, always get a fast door even if it doesn't work.
Yeah, even if you blatantly miss it because you were blatantly bad.
Yeah, it's just sort of a little inside joke. So this level's fully deloaded now, and I'm going to be setting up a timed mine in a specific spot to hopefully launch me into a load trigger here, which will load this big elevator shaft. We'll land out of bounds, and then doing another setup here, I can back off this ledge with a certain amount of speed and hit a checkpoint on the way down. Very nice. There used to be a much harder and random version of this trick, but fortunately we found this, and it's also faster, which is always a nice bonus.
Much harder as in the hardest skip in the game.
Ooh, we missed the checkpoint. Interesting.
What?
Whoa, okay. So, okay, that's interesting. So, I actually don't know how I missed that. That's weird. Not a big deal. We can just try it again. Fortunately, we get a checkpoint right there. And that old version of the trick that I mentioned, you actually hit a checkpoint that essentially soft locks you. You can't try the trick again. So, you know, just getting some bonus DLC content on this run here. We're going to see this trick again.
Yeah, you actually, you might need it to, depending on your PC, you might need to set the FPS here to different than whatever Shark sets it to.
Yeah, so I go to 19 there. Correct me if I'm wrong, Crazy. That usually works for you at 30, right?
I do it at 30, yeah. So
I do it at 25.
Yeah, so it really just depends on the runner. There we go. That should work. Usually when you hit that that dialogue, it usually means you hit the checkpoint because they overlap with each other. But it's possible to hit one and not the other. Okay, there we go. All right. I'm gonna have to go back and watch the tape on that one. I'm not really sure what happened there. It's interesting. So we can do another.
That's never happened before, or has that actually happened?
Unfortunately, I have missed that trick before, but it is very rare that that happens.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty close though.
We have a rare spot on the speedrunning marathon and bingo card, but
I'd say it's close enough.
It's pretty rare. You get it like 90% of the time.
I've maybe seen that once or twice. I'll put it that way. It's yeah, very rare.
Either way, that was marathon luck.
That was marathon luck, absolutely. Oh, Crazy. You want to explain this too?
So basically, when Shark took that elevator down, he actually went around the trigger that deloads the tram that has the Ellie from chapter, what is it, 9?
Yes.
And the one one that goes to the Ichimura. So they're loaded in at the same time, and it kind of looks funny because we skipped the elevator that has the trigger on it.
Yeah, the pair of them that's on the left is the one that's actually supposed to be in this cutscene, and the other ones are supposed to be using cutscenes before this, which we skipped. But yeah, the game we skipped the thing like you said that removes them, so you just get both at the same time. It's pretty silly looking. Oh, and the skybox is partially deloaded, so when this light disappears, you'll see this go away. Also, you can see this.
I don't know why the skybox goes away.
It's probably because when you hit that thing to deload them, it probably loads in some other assets that we just don't. Maybe we skip over. But
You can snag up second dragon back.
we got one of the best pieces of dialogue in the game coming up here in a second.
You should be able to get the
A few
transport
seconds.
across. Stay ready and take care of Strauss.
Isaac, no. This is a really bad idea.
Well, stick around. I'm full of bad ideas.
He said
he skips the whole
he said the
chapter.
line. Yes. Yeah, Radish, you want to talk a little bit about the chapter 10 skip we're going to be doing here?
Oh yeah, so this is engineering deck skip, and engineering deck skip actually, I timed it, is the biggest skip in the game by about 20 seconds if I remember correctly. We're
It's
going
pretty
to
big.
be setting our game to 19 FPS, and that's going to allow us to easily clip out of the little lift that we're going to see up here. And once we do that, we can run over to a certain area at the edge of this map right here. And basically we can... Are you doing the pause buffer strat in this run?
The door dive?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so what that's gonna do is we're going to set up a kind of like you saw at the beginning of chapter 8, where he did that line gun boost to hit a certain area. Only we're gonna be trying to open a door as we do it. So he's gonna run a little bit into this map here to get a checkpoint. That's just in case he misses the trick, because if you actually miss it, it wastes a lot more time. You have
Yeah,
to-
that whole long gondola ride I did, we'd have to do again.
Yeah.
Instead, I'll just get put right back there if I miss it.
You notice right there, he boosted on a corner of the elevator, which allowed him to get some height, and especially at 19 FPS, it makes this a lot easier, because he was able to clip out and basically land in an area where you wouldn't be able to get to normally. So he's gonna run all the way over to the side of this map here, run to a specific spot where we're going to be doing a line gun with classic aim, because that makes it a little bit easier than non-classic aim. You still can do it, it's just a little bit more weird and, you know, more different. So he's going to be edging himself off of this ledge here.
There we go.
Aiming to a specific spot, placing a mine, and then aiming to a specific spot on this wall while he turns VSync on. That is important. You need more distance, and with VSync on, that'll get you that distance.
Yeah, for some reason 30 FPS gives you more distance when you go off a ledge. Just another weird physics thing in this game.
So he's going to pause buffer like you
Nice.
saw all the way back in chapter 1. There you go, nice. You'll know if you get it because you can kind of see the little door pop up there. And he was on... And that's actually going to keep a deload. We used to do a different trick here called medical deck skip, where we either use 2 enemies to keep a door open. And that was pretty, you know, it was pretty interesting. But that trick
Yeah.
actually just skips that straight up, and we still keep the deload.
It's pretty cool seeing the whole thing in one step, and you can kind of see me there, like I said earlier, walking through a few locked doors, one of which you're supposed to unlock, the other you're not even supposed to go through at all. So it makes the whole thing pretty quick. There used to be a whole gauntlet of tricks that we had to do in this chapter that were all really difficult, and I'd still say it's still a hard split, but it's definitely way better than it used to be. And coming up here, after I get through this hallway, there's going to be another save station clip, which will just bypass a short elevator ride with some dialogue. This little shortcut was found just a few days ago, actually. You can actually just go around like that. Pretty
I
funny.
didn't even know that. Well,
You're not gonna break me.
I should probably post a video on that for glitchless stuff. But anyway, we're coming to the bridge here. And again, another situation where stasis would be nice, but I can just hit the enemies instead. Gonna get these guys out of my way. One nice use of the detonator there. And then another save station clip. There we go, very nice.
it's important that you need to be right in the middle of that and not, you know, to the little bit to the left or to the right, because that actually doesn't allow you to do the trick at all.
Yeah, so
Dead center in there.
most save stations, there's a pretty wide range you can stand in front of it and still interact with it. But for some reason, the ones in this chapter, you have to be standing right on top of it. It's weird. And one last trick for Chapter 10. You can interact with that panel even if you're walking away from it, as long as you hold the button down. And normally it's supposed to lock you out of this room, but we can just walk right out of it like this, which will let us get to this escape pod a few seconds faster. And one last thing to mention about that is we're supposed to get a cutscene with Nicole, a little hallucination, but we can skip that by looking down to delay her spawning and then just getting in like that. All right, cool. Now we got, I'd say around a minute or more of cutscene here. The audio breaks also because you're not supposed to get in before the cutscene plays. So again, this is another great time to read anything or make any announcements if you've got anything.
Awesome. I have another donation here from Holt for $20 who says, is it time for Super Drill yet?
Yo, thanks, Holt.
And I have a little bit of information about the Organization for Autism Research, about where exactly your donations will be going. So a $10 donation sends a curriculum in a box, professional development set to general education teachers. $25 sends 15 copies of a guide to safety for families and first responders. $50 gives 20 copies of Autism, My Sibling and Me to an autism support group. $100 provides the Kit for Kids peer education resource to an entire elementary or middle school. $150 delivers 100 copies of a guide for military families to a military installation. And finally, our marathon goal, $1,000, funds a research grant for a graduate student studying autism. You know exactly where your donations will be going.
Awesome, thank you. I can make one quick comment about what Holt was referencing in his donation. So there's a trick coming up after this chapter called Drill Skip, and I'm not gonna be doing Super Drill this run. It would be pretty cool if I got it, but it's a slightly hard. Well, I say slightly. It's a much harder version of Drill Skip.
It is hyper hard. Like, Drill Skip
No one's ever
goes
gotten
from,
it in a run.
Yeah.
Literally 100% of the time to the hardest skip in the game.
Yeah, if I went for it, I definitely would miss it. I mean, you know, there's always a chance, but yeah.
I'm a little bit curious. How is your pacing in terms of your PB right now?
I am about a minute and a half behind my PB right now, so pretty good for a marathon run. That's pretty. That's
really good.
That's pretty good.
I think this is the second to last hack panel in the game, so.
It is. We go a pretty long time without having to do any.
Good riddance.
Honestly, true. The less randomness in the game, the better.
Yeah, especially in this game where there's, you know, if the run is all RNG, then that makes sense. If the run is no RNG, then that makes sense. But if it's like half, then it doesn't really work. Like, you need either full randomness or no randomness. Otherwise, it really doesn't work.
This game, by the way, has very little RNG. The fact that we can get so close to literal perfection, there's not much RNG really, but the RNG that there is loses about 10 to 15 seconds.
Yeah, and there's not, in most places, there's not a lot of crazy movement tech, so a lot of the times you're just trying to optimize taking good lines and things like that. So it can be hard to save time just on things like that. It's a lot of having good combat and nailing all the tricks quickly, doing fast setups and things like that.
A huge room there. Basically, all he did was he pulled the battery out of its desired spot without really touching any enemies there. He shot it over to its desired place in the other battery area, pulled out the broken battery and put in a new battery, and then he checkpoint restarted. That de-aggroed a lot of enemies, which basically just allowed him to get past that area pretty quickly. So. Also here, Ellie is just going to absolutely roll Strauss here after Strauss ripped out her eye.
He does deserve it for sure.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Coming up here, this is going to be the start actually of all of the all of the tricks that we need to do in order to do drill skip. So,
yeah, this whole sequence is pretty complicated.
So basically, we're going to be checkpoint restarting there to put us a little bit back into the map. Flying over to this area in the map here where these kind of areas meet right here. He's going to clip out of bounds, aim at a specific star, and you'll know kind of where the star is because
that
of
was really good, by the way.
That was good, yeah.
That was really good.
like that huge door right there, you can kind of know where the star is at. You get a dialogue and you'll checkpoint restart whenever he says all right before persons. And what that's going to do is that's going to put us into the level, but we're actually still going to have 0G. And that's a huge part.
Yeah, the 0G stays because it's active while we hit the checkpoint. Otherwise, we wouldn't have it at all. And it just happens to overlap with this elevator shaft, which is really convenient.
0G actually stops about halfway up in this elevator shaft, but we're going to use it for our advantage while we have it. So Shark's gonna wait just a little bit here. If you don't wait, then it'll spawn an extra enemy later, which, you know, it doesn't really matter that much, but it is helpful to not have an extra enemy. You'll see why. But he's going to fly up to a platform here, and because we have 0G, we can actually straight up walk on these walls right here. So you're gonna be noticed that Shark is like perpendicular to the elevator right there.
Yeah, to say the least, you can't normally get up here.
So if you start meleeing, what that actually does is that keeps your 0G stand, your 0G status. So even if you just once the 0G ends at the like halfway up this elevator, if you keep meleeing, you actually keep your 0G status. So you'll stay on the side of the elevator.
Yeah,
So that's going to allow us to basically get to a certain part of the map that we're gonna be able to get to.
Yep.
Skip a huge cutscene, and that's huge because once we skip that cutscene, we're going to backtrack through it and basically walk right past it without the cutscene actually being there, and that's going to give us invincibility.
Yeah.
Big part of us getting
One quick note about that is, or two things actually. So what I'm doing here is technically called a tilt, which refers to tilting Isaac outside of a 0G area. It's kind of similar to the way it works in Dead Space 1, if you've seen that run, except in that game, the tilt that you get actually will stick. So say this is Dead Space 1 and I stopped, my orientation to the coordinate plane would actually stay like this, rotated. Unfortunately, it doesn't work quite like that in this game, but as long as I keep punching, I can keep sticking to the wall, and I'm really just going to be using it to climb here, as opposed to rotating myself. And the thing with the cutscene is that a lot of cutscenes will give you invincibility so that you won't die during the cutscene, but it turns out that hitting this particular one while it's deloaded just gives you the invincibility but doesn't actually play cutscene. Alright, I'm going to focus here.
Yeah, this part's a little bit tricky, so I'm going to try and do my best to commentate for him. He's going to need to punch a specific amount of times in order to turn to the right and then get onto this very, very small ledge. Nice, he got it. Then he's going to run over to this area right here and start doing a wall boost. And this wall boost is designed so that he can basically get to this part of the map. He's going to shoot a line gun mine and try his best to get over here. Nice. And now this was actually found about a week ago, I believe.
Looney jump!
Yeah, Looney jump.
Let's
so
go.
We used to basically do a boost where we just, run straight off, which was pretty slow. But Living Looney Bin, shouts to him again, he found that you can just straight up jump to the other side and not have to worry about, boosting up, which takes about 6 or 7 seconds, if I remember correctly.
That was really good.
I actually saved half a second off my PB there. That was really nice. That was actually a really clean chapter 11. That was
like
really nice.
That whole sequence is really hard.
That is the part of the run where your heart is pounding, your hands are shaking. Last time I had a PB pace run to that point, I think my fingers actually started tingling. I was like so nervous. It gets you, because if you fall off at any point, you have to do the entire climb up the shaft again, and you lose over 2 minutes. So I mean, if you have it in your run and you miss it, you're pretty much done if you miss that.
You notice that Shark actually did a little bit of a wall boost over that railing there. That basically allowed us to skip about a 50-second cutscene.
And is the first skip found in the entire game. Yeah. Again by Looney.
So, he also, at the very start of this chapter, he turned around and he went through that cutscene at the very end of the elevator. That's actually what got us invincibility. So notice that he's just straight up walking through these little sits on the ground here with absolutely zero, damage being done to him. He's going to be turning on low FPS.
There we go. Sorry, I forgot what my FPS toggle button was there, so I was just hitting a bunch of buttons that didn't do anything. We're good, we got it.
If you basically walk backwards and kinesis that object right to you, then it will actually flip you out of the elevator. It depends on how easily sometimes it wants to work. And just for safety here, apparently, he's going to run back and get this cutscene anyways.
Yeah, I'm just doing it because it looks funny. I have to go back up. I have to go back up and grab this panel, so I'll lose a little bit of time, but it's worth it.
Especially now this puke is here, just rolling over.
I've actually never seen this with the puker. Is he gonna die here? Maybe not.
But anyways, there's two reasons why he did this one. Because yes, it does look funny, and the other big nerf on safety. There is actually an extremely small chance that you can hard lock the game by actually hitting.
Extremely. I've done it like twice before on pro record base.
Well, yeah, but how long ago was that?
Oh, the puker did die. Nice.
Anyways, I mean, yeah, you know, it is a small chance, and I don't think it actually has happened with Shark. It saves about 2 seconds over, you know, watching the cutscene right there anyway.
Yeah. Although nowadays, since you need this thing, it actually saves a lot more time. Don't grab me. Alright, that's fine. So I am invincible, but they can still grab you, so you have to be a little careful.
Luckily, it's a slasher, and slashers have, you know, one of the shortest
Yeah. So we can conveniently use this prop to clip off the drill, which is really nice. And yeah, and once the drill goes out of bounds here, I can drop down, and then I'm going to be doing a setup to align myself. We can explain this in a little bit. Let me just... Okay, that's good. Alright. So, this is where all of these glitches and skips we've been doing sort of culminate into one big trick. So, this level's an auto-scroller, and the next level doesn't load until the drill actually gets to the end of its path. So we have to wait a little bit, but a quick few things to note. If you fall for too long in this game, out of bounds, you'll die. There's a soft lock timer. So we circumvent that by using that invincibility glitch to fall. And now I'm back in the 0G area from the previous level where we clipped out of bounds and aligned to that star and flew forward and all that stuff. And I'm gonna wait for about 2.5 minutes in this void here. And once I hit a certain time, I'm gonna fly forward, and then the level's gonna deload when the drill gets to the end of its path and the auto scroller's done. And the next level loads below us, and we're gonna fall down into it and load into it. But like I said, we have about a little less than 2 minutes. So again, if there's anything you have to read, this is the perfect time.
Awesome. Well, I have another donation to read.
Let's hear it.
RU642 sent in another $10 says, Skillet wants me to do this, so I guess I want it too, right?
Awesome, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for your generosity, and I do believe it might have gone towards a new bid war that we have open for Amnesia Justine for an alternative route. I hadn't seen this one before, so this is my best guess where that donation went. The options are Shovel Crypt and OOB Crypt, and the donation went towards the OOB Crypt, so it is currently in the lead at $10. I also want to point out that we are now more than halfway towards our goal of $1,000 for the entire marathon. We have passed that. We're past the halfway point at $521. So big thank you to everybody for their generosity.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
Very nice pace.
So you're not going to be able to see it on the screen right now, but he's going to be using his off-screen timer, and that's going to actually allow him, because he's going to be aiming for a pretty specific, I think it's 228.79, right?
Yeah, there's about a half a second window, I think. It's kind of hard to tell. It takes about 4 minutes, even with cheats, to practice or do a full attempt of this trick. So it can be hard to get a good sample size. But from what I found, there's about a half a second window. But to be safe, I'm going to be trying to go for around 228.74 to 79, somewhere around there. So I'm going to be pause buffering here to see what we can get.
He basically
7.2 should work. All right.
Yeah, there was an auto splitter that basically split as soon as we landed in this 0G area right here. And that basically is the tool that allows us to check our time. And that's actually really helpful because we probably wouldn't be able to do this if we didn't have.
Yeah, I've done it before without pause buffering, but it's still split when I landed in the 0G. I mean, I'm sure it's possible, but it'd be such a hassle that, like, I mean, there's no real need for that, you know?
Yeah. So we won't know, unlike the regular drill skip, if we actually got it or not. There's a really, really good chance that he did, though. So
Yeah. All right.
Gets it.
Thank goodness. That trick is extremely consistent, but if you miss it, I don't even know how much it is. You lose almost 5 minutes or more. It's pretty bad. We're on really good pace, so I mean we still would have been well under estimate if we had missed it, but fortunately we didn't. So here we are, almost halfway, maybe a little under halfway already through chapter 13.
I would say that the reason why we have such a high estimate is because of things that happen like chapter 6, where he misses it, a lot of times. Thankfully, it's just a good factor, because you never know what actually happens, especially in marathon games, or marathon runs where anything can go wrong, and you don't want to have a low estimate and then something bad happens to your run. So.
Yeah, like if we get a good segment here, we could still get a 108 in-game time, which is really good. So, well, now there are still 2 pretty big tricks coming up that can lose us quite a bit of time. Crazy, you want to explain this laser room trick coming up here?
Yeah. Which one?
The deload.
So basically, what we're gonna do is run. Once we get into this room, we're gonna run down the hallway to spawn an enemy, and then when that enemy spawns, we're gonna take the leg off and have it hold the door open, and then we're gonna run down and open another door, run back, and the door will be held open by the enemy, and the room will be deloaded. We walk through, deload the other room by closing the door that was held open by the Necromorph, and then it deloads the whole level, and we can just walk straight to the iPhone skip, which is a really big skip.
Yeah, like you said, the main advantage is just that the doors lose all their collision, and we skip so many door animations that it actually ends up saving quite a bit of time, as well as a hack panel, actually, which is also, again, very nice.
So right here he's spawning the enemy, and he's being very slow right now.
Yeah, he can either charge you right away or just do that, and that's a little slower, but again, it's fine. Oh, he's playing dead.
And then that'll deload the entire map, and he's just gonna run through all these door animations and save a lot of time.
Yeah, in this one, we're not even going out of bounds or taking a shortcut anywhere. We're walking through the level the way you're supposed to go, in bounds, but just not having to open any of these doors saves us so much time.
In a separate category called No Out of Bounds, this is allowed.
Yeah, a lot of these deload tricks actually still work in the no out of bounds category, just because you don't actually leave the level bounds. It might look like it, but it's really just the visuals that are deloaded plus the doors, which is the real helpful part. That being said, there are a lot of deloads that are also out of bounds, and those are obviously banned. Taking a quick safety save here.
This is a very big skip.
This saves, what, 7 or 8 minutes in glitchless, I think?
This is the 3rd biggest skip in the game.
So basically what he did right there is, when you activate a elevator, it makes an invisible wall, so you can't exit through where you came. But if you turn your FPS low enough, you can actually activate be on the frame where you're outside of the wall as you activate the elevator. So
yeah, it all just loads in slower because of the frame rate, and you're able to slip out of the elevator before it blocks you in. Oh, I gotta do this quick time event.
And then that'll deload the whole level. You drop down to where you would usually do the cutscene where Timon is, and on top of there you can just jump to the literal end of the game, end boss. So you go from the end of chapter 13 all the way to the end of chapter 15 in one skip.
Yeah, chapter 14 actually ends up being the only level in the game that we don't even enter at all. Pretty interesting. So yeah, Tideman is now dead, and Nicole is supposed to be here, but we skip another load that makes her model appear here, so it actually just does look like Isaac is insane, which I guess he is at this point.
You, Isaac.
This is what everybody else sees. Like,
Yeah.
whenever they look at Isaac at the end of the game.
Also, plot twist, she wants to kill us. So turning on VSync here to make the one cycle boss fight possible, and checkpoint restarting to skip a pretty long cutscene. And blink and you'll miss it. We got a boss fight coming up here. We're going to be using the contact beam.
Hardest final boss fight.
True.
And GG.
Yeah. We got about I'd say 2 more minutes here. A little bit of cutscene and then a flying section. I'll let you know when time's coming up. We got a little bit. But yeah, that is pretty much all of Dead Space 2. I hope you've enjoyed the run so far. It's been a blast showing this game off and all the crazy stuff that we found. It's been a great time running this game. We got a great community. Yeah. You guys got anything?
I just want to say that Sharkhat is the greatest man on the planet Earth, and you should definitely give him a follow on Twitch.
Thank you.
Yeah, Sharkhat's been an awesome, player and definitely an awesome friend to have around. So I'm very thankful for him. He's done a lot for this community and for me. I probably wouldn't be where I'm at right now without him. So I really, 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 really appreciate having him doing this. It's just, it's been awesome. For about 1.5 years that I've been in part of this community, Shark's been there the entire time. He's been absolutely a great person, great streamer, and a great player. So
I appreciate it, guys.
a couple of people. Looney, obviously you've heard about him throughout the run. He is.
Shout out to Looney.
Yeah, he
Yes.
is
Complete
probably
bastard.
the
Was this your
oldest
great
person,
plan? Dump
not
me off
not in
and
terms of
die?
age, but he's been running this game for the longest.
Yeah.
He knows all
Yeah, well,
3
here's
games.
another one.
He's an
I'm
awesome
crashing through the
player,
roof to
so
get you.
He's awesome.
move your
Is
ass.
the OG Dead Space.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
want to shout out Waifu.
Yeah, well, you
He
don't
actually
really
did a
have
Left
to
4
say
Dead 2
this
run
time.
earlier in the show, I believe.
Heads up.
And he's actually what got me into this speedrunning in the first place. So if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be speedrunning. He's an awesome guy and a great streamer, so you should go check him out whenever I get a chance. And anyways, this is the final, this is the final sequence in the
Alexis
game.
DR. Shout out to Alexis DR.
Shout out to Alexis, yes. Shout out to Sir Kyle95 as well.
Sir
And
Kyle
the entire,
The entire Dead Space community. We got a lot of great runners in there.
Awesome. Everybody's awesome. Holt, he's awesome. Zio, he's awesome.
Oh, shout out to Zio. Alright, time is going to end after this quick time event in about 5 or so seconds. And time.
Why did my timer
end? Wow, dude. Yeah, 108.27 in-game time. That was really good.
Very, very good.
Only about 2 minutes off the current record. Give or take a few seconds. So yeah, that's about all we got for Dead Space 2.
So, I appreciate everyone who came out. Again, GG's to Sharkhat. He's an awesome player and an awesome guy, so.
Thank you.
Shout outs to Radish. Shout outs to Radish.
It is 5 a.m., so we did, we're all kind of, gamers right now. Gamer hours right now, so.
And we got Kidnapped coming up next.
Just got
Yeah,
back to
alright.
work,
Thank
so.
you so much for that awesome run of Dead Space 2. And you're gonna stick around, right, for your Kidnapped run coming up next.
Yes.
Yep, so if you are watching, don't go anywhere. Another awesome run coming right up.